I'm here with Christopher Brown, who was, well, I just learned you're ex-president CEO of the Tourism Transport Forum.
And cut and run after 20 years, yes.
After 20 years, representing the travel, the corporate side, the business side of travel tourism industry, and you're now chairman of the UNWTO Business Council, the United Nations World Tourism Organization.
Aussies go global eventually. Being here at WTTC, it's interesting because WTTC is largely modelled on a TTF. When Jeff Lippman first came out years ago to see what we were doing through Amex, and I suppose 20 years as a lobbyist for the tourism and transport sector. Now we're working with WTO, which is really the business council side. So it's really continuing that role. It's the business council talking to the governments within an intergovernmental organisation. And what I do think is fascinating now, and after many years of involvement with both global groups, they were too often against each other, and the partnership now that WTTC and UNWTO are forming, I think is very good for the industry globally. It recognises the common enemy is not the Minister for Tourism, it's the Treasurer, it's the Minister for Finance, it's the central agencies of government. And if we can harness the success of corporations in the sector, together with the influence of ministers and departments of tourism around the world, they can together speak with one voice to other regulatory agencies, to other parts, more senior parts of government. This is the sort of public policy settings we need.
I understand. Now, in my years around UNWTO, I've seen it grow from a little group, at least the associate members, right? That's what they're called, to a quite sizable one at this point. How many? Over 200?
Yeah, the affiliates now, and it's a mix of, and the affiliates outside the governments, it's largely industry associations like a TTF and national associations that come together, and it really is the home for those national associations, universities and training institutions, some standalone corporates, some of the consultancy community. So it's very much more the SME side, the small and medium enterprises side of tourism at a global level, with WTTC rightly housing the big end of town, like my organisation did in Australia. But so you bring all those together, you actually start to coalesce an argument that you can address issues of climate change and sustainability. You can address issues of taxation. You can address issues of transport policy, aviation policy. And hopefully you can try and get a collective approach to corporate social responsibility by the industry, not only lobbying to government, but lobbying to ourselves.
Yeah, all those are very important. And they also are looking for ways, innovative ways of marketing. So the point, I guess, is, while the membership's grown in the associate UNWTOs, the programs and the marketing front, the business side of it, seem to be still not all there. So the participation tends not to be 100%.
Look, it's having run a single national jurisdiction association for 20 years, I see the difficulty in trying to do one over multi-jurisdictional. It's very difficult to prosecute a program, a policy program, an activity program that can excite both, Belize and Britain at the same time. I mean, it's a difficult scenario. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but it makes it harder. The cost base is significant. People travel all around the world to come to a conference or to involve in a working group. It's very difficult. I think probably there needs to be much better use of technology as an innovative platform for people in different parts of the world to get engaged. I think one of the real mistakes for UNWTO over the years has not been positioning itself very much as the single peak group for the industry associations who could have come together to swap notes and do things. Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, no one's perfect. There's great intent. Talib Rafai, the new Secretary General, relatively new, wonderful man. He has massive confidence. Meeting with him later today, and I've taken on a sort of a special envoy role for him in the Pacific. We're really going to grow the influence of WTO. I'd like to see it champion issues as it's done with sustainability, and we often talk about the problems in Africa or in Latin America in the past. For my crusade, it's the Pacific Islands, these small island nations who are going to be really hammered by the stupid policies out of the British government with taxes on long-haul airlines. Long before the tidal wave come and physically takes out a Tuvalu or a Fiji, the tidal wave of taxes and regulation will do it for them. So a British government who says, we're putting this tax on to try and save the undeveloped world climate change, well, they're not. They're going to destroy the world. Their aerial highway will go if the tourists of Britain can't access the South Pacific Islands because of the ridiculous tax imposition. How dare they be claiming it's in their interest to try and head off climate change? So it's that sort of policies where you can coalesce, which should allow the developed world and the less developed world to form a common basis of support. And that's where I think UNWTO, Australia sort of partnerships should focus on their own regional issues.
Well, and you with your more private sector background will add a lot to the, and you're a pretty good leader. But going back to marketing, UNWTO did make a good go, Jeffrey Littman did when he was there, with a partnership with Microsoft. Do you remember that? Microsoft was going to help developing countries get on the internet and have a website. And surprisingly, there were many takers, you know. And now we have social media. But anyways, it's...
Look, there's this partnerships that are sensible, and you use the collective force of something like UNWTO that brings together almost every government in the world, and there's still a few not, people like the States and the UK. We've got to make sure that some of those countries do their bit in a governmental forum. But to use the power of that as an intergovernmental agency, partnered up with the private sector. The first thing was really the tourism satellite accounts, the first partnership between WTTC and UNWTO, which gave incredible scientific backing to all governments to show this is the sort of economic impact that tourism has. And that used the common sense of private sector reality, real numbers, together with the essence of government going into real statistics, and show this partnership could provide great results. Things like the Microsoft partnership is fantastic. How we can assist developing nations go into the new world of social media, either the Twitter sphere. I'm told I'm a bit of a Luddite. You know, I've got kids who can tell me how to do that sort of thing. But I think it's fascinating as to how we can. It's the leap that will allow a developing world to go straight up to with the big guys, because social media allows that. It's the fast track elevator that can overcome the cost issues, a lot of cases, the infrastructure involved. So I think where we can partner up to help those developing nations tap into their tourism riches.
Much more affordable. Email, anything else, it's a one-to-one contact message versus a viral or 1 to 100 or something on Facebook.
Charlie, we're going to go viral up this. You and I can go viral. We'll be everywhere.